hello. I think I'm live now, and yes, so all is working well. Let me just make sure that I can see your comments. How are you doing today? If you're watching, let me know how you're doing today. It's interesting. Great. It's getting a bit hotter. It was nice and fresh yesterday, but getting a little bit hotter again today. Please let me know if you can hear me and see me well. And I'm just also checking if everything is working and making sure that I can read your comments. Great, great. Several people have joined. Oh, there we go. Several people have already joined, and today we'll be talking about this book by Dale Carnegie. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that. So please write in the comments if you've heard of this book, if you've read this book, if you know about the ideas in there. And we'll be discussing the ideas in there in the next probably about half an hour. Great. So all is well, the sound is good, everything is good. I can see the first likes coming. Excellent, fantastic. If you're watching, say hello, send me a like, and I'll be happy to chat with you today about this book. So we're just waiting a minute for others to join, but otherwise all is going well. Right, so amazing book, really interesting, and I definitely recommend everybody to read this book. How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a pretty old book, just to give you a short introduction. It's a pretty old book. If I'm not mistaken, it came out in 1936. So it's over 80 years old. So it's not a new book, but a very influential one, and something, a book that is still interesting, still has valid points and still has important things in that. Great. So let's get started. And if you read the book, amazing, you're going to be helping me today. If you haven't read the book, then this is the perfect time just to get the summary and the main ideas. As we all understand how busy you are in your life, we're bringing this idea to you. Fantastic. So let's get started. The book is in 4 parts, and we're going to look at the 4 parts and the main ideas and discuss these ideas behind the book. So the first part focuses on techniques in handling people. And there are 3 main points here. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Give honest and sincere appreciation. Arouse in the other person an eager want. So basically what Dale Carnegie says is that criticism is never good. It never works. So you should not criticize people, right? You should be careful about what you're saying and when. Because if you want to handle people well, then you shouldn't criticize them and you shouldn't complain, right? Yeah, so anytime, if you have any ideas to share, feel free to write them in the comments. Do you agree with the statements? Do you think these are good ideas? Or maybe you have questions that come up. The second point is give honest and sincere appreciation. So here's the really important thing to remember. You really need to appreciate other people. and value what they do and why they do that. So one thing that can help here to give this sincere appreciation is to put yourself into other people's shoes and think why they did what they did. So again, that these 2 points kind of link with each other because when we criticize, right, we think that the person has done something wrong. That's our setting, right? You've done something wrong. But if you start thinking about why this person might have done it the way he or she has done it, then you're thinking about what happened to the person, and then it's whatever happened is easier to solve because you're putting yourself into another person's shoes. And this is what the second technique in handling people, right? The last one here is arouse in the person an eager want. So we often want people to do what we want, right? But the nature of us, we never want to do what others want us to do, right? We want to do what we want to do. So if you want to handle people well, you need to convince them in a way that that's what they want to do. How to do that? So let's think of an example. Let's say, for example, at work, right? You want your team to work together towards one goal, whatever it is, whether it's a sales objective or whether it's a KPI that you would like to improve. To get people work towards the same goal, you need to sort of push different buttons, right? So for some people, if you know one of your employees really wants to make the difference, right? Then with this employee, to drive this employee towards all companies' goals, you have to use this language, and you have to say, talk to this person in the way that this person would hear and understand. So if they want to make a difference, then you need to show them how going towards the goals will make a difference. But then for another person, for example, income is really important. And then with this person, while you're talking about still achieving the company goals, you would push the button that this will mean increase or stable income for this employee and others. So you see, by focusing on what another person wants, you can sort of help them, make them go towards your goal, but you always have to show what is in there for them, right? So any ideas, any comments about this so far? And feel free to write any questions or any comments if you have. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to say to everybody who joined, we are talking today about the famous book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, about this book. And we just finished talking about the first part, and I'm waiting for any comments or any exciting things that you have to share with me, any reactions to what I just said. And then after that, we'll move on to the next point. So let me just return back to the topic, which is techniques in handling people. Right. So if no comments, no further question, let's continue and move, because I said there are 4 parts. Let's continue and move to the next part, which is something a bit more specific: 6 ways to make people like you. So tell me in the comments, do people like you? Write it in the comments. Do you think people like you? And if yes, why? Why do you think people like you? What do you think you do well to make people like you? I'd like to think that people generally like me. And one of the reasons is that I'm quite a smiley person. I often smile, not always, but very often. And I think I'm a good listener. And I definitely listen to what people have to say before making a decision for myself. And generally, with my friends, I think I'm a good listener. So, what about you guys? Do you think people like you? And why do you think they like you? And okay, we have several people watching on Mayma. Hello. Right. So I'm waiting. I'm just waiting for your comments. And as I'm waiting for your comments about whether people like you or not, well, I hope they do. I'm sure they do. You're all lovely people. I'm just gonna comment on the what Dale Carnegie suggests. So first piece of advice is become genuinely interested in other people. And the key word here is genuine interest, genuine, right? So don't pretend that you're interested. Really become interested in other people's life, in their hobbies, in what they do on every day, right? And you can research that and you can become really interested for a short period of time. Possibly in the future, it will become one of your interests as well. But for the moment, if there is somebody you would like to like you, really become interested in what they like, whatever it is, if it's collecting stamps or cars or music, specific type of music. Do this, do a bit of research, do a bit of reading, and become interested. Be curious about that. The next point is smile. Yes, smiling is important. Uh, just think about it. Who do you prefer talking to people who generally smile or not? Probably whenever you see a smile, you're ready to open up, you're ready to chat, you feel more comfortable, you feel at ease. So smiling is really, really important. Great. The next tip is remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Use people's names. I it's really important, right? Because people hear their names from the day they're born. For some parents name their children even before they're born, right? They come up with names. But from the first day of your life, or sometimes yes, sometimes second or third or 10th, yes, depending on how organized your parents are, but you hear your name every day. And it is it is really nice to hear your name. People like hearing names. So do make an effort to remember people's names. Being a teacher, having taught for 12 years, I have my strategies how to remember all my students' names as quickly as possible. I write them down, I make a mental memory, and do as much like really really put a lot of effort into remembering people's names. And also I think it helps me communicating with people, because it's a bit awkward, right, when you want to address a person and then you don't know how, like you don't know their name, right? Like saying something, hey you, doesn't really work, does it? So it's really important to remember people's names. And I know a lot of people say like they say like, oh, I'm really bad with names. But if you want people to like you, you have to become better with names. And I think there is nothing wrong with asking the person to remind their names if you hadn't seen each other for a while, right? If you hadn't talked for a while, there is nothing wrong with asking because you're genuinely interested. You're showing genuine interest in the person, in their name, and you want to address them by their name. Okay. Any reactions, any comments are welcome. I don't see any comments now, but let's see. Maybe I hope all is working and oh yes, yes. Look, I wasn't able to see the comments for some reason. Now I can see yes. Value the process. Don't focus on the outcomes. Results will be definitely fruitful. Yes. Yes, Reem, I agree. So I couldn't see the comments before. Now I can see them and reading them. Iman, I think so. They trust me. Good. Aida, generally, yes, I'm a good listener. Yes, me too. The body language is important. Oh, that's why we all love you at Western English. Thank you, Reem. This is such a nice comment. Thank you so much. Fantastic. So now I'm sure I can see comments and I'll be checking again. So if you have any other comments, feel free to write them. Great. So the next point, we already talked about it. Be a good listener. People like to talk. They like to talk more than they like to listen. I know, I know. So it's you also will enjoy talking and talking about yourself more than listening. But if you want to make other people like you have to become a good listener. You have to mm, you have to be able, right? You have to be able to listen to what other people have to say and encourage other people to talk about themselves. Rafa says that here, I think we're not talking about friends already have, we're talking about knowing new people. So yes, to some extent, mainly you talk about new people, meeting new people and making new friends, right? But I think it's also relevant to the friends that you already have. It's also relevant to the people because people that you have around you, they can stay and they can go, right? Of course, maybe some of you have best friends, but what I know is that with the age, we have fewer, the social circle becomes smaller and smaller because we often lose friends simply because we didn't listen enough, right? We weren't genuinely interested. It's fine, people come and go, but here, of course, the book is mainly focused on new friends. Body language, very important. Yes, definitely, body language is important. Right. So the next point here, if you want to make people like you, is talk in terms of the other person's interests, right? So again, this links us to the first point here, become genuinely interested in other people. Here, talk in terms of other people's interests. So when you talk about something, you need to remember about what interests the person you're talking to. And then you need to use the terms and then you need to use the words that will be interesting for other people. It is important because then you bring yourself to the same level, to the same environment that the person is in. So, for example, again, the same idea, if we talk about your company, and if you want your employees or colleagues like you, then you need to be able to talk to these people in their terms. This is if we related this to job and to professions. So if you're talking to an accountant, you definitely need to talk about the money side, yes, the money side. If you talk to an IT engineer, you will need to talk in their terms as well. So overall, because this is the way that people will understand what you mean, and they will appreciate that you are really showing interest in what they are talking about. Fantastic. The last point is make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. I think just like when we talked about the first, genuinely being interested in people, here sincerity is also incredibly important, because people can feel if you're not sincere. People can feel if you're trying to, if you're just saying that to make them feel comfortable or to get them do what you want to do. People, I don't know, you just feel it sort of in a way. But think about the people as they are the most important thing, right? So focus on them. They are important. If you reduce your own importance and increase the importance of the other person, then you will make new friends and influence people. You will make people like you more. Oh, there is an ambulance coming. I hope it's not too noisy. Great. Any comments so far on this part? Write any comments. What do you think about that? Do you agree or disagree with that? And we will be moving to the third part of the book and the main ideas from the third part. So I'll just have a sip of water, see if you have any reactions, any comments. And for those who just joined, we are talking about the book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And we're talking about the main ideas from the book. Reem says, people talking about themselves or only about their achievements are always boring. Exactly, right? But if you let them talk about themselves, then they will like you. And then at some point when you start talking about themselves, they will be interested because you gave them time, you listened to them. But you can see how it can be boring if you only hear one person talking about themselves again and again and again. Fantastic. Good. So let me see. And yes. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next part of the book. Part 3, we get in longer tips and win people to your way of thinking. That's the third part. I will briefly talk about each of these points. I'm having a course on storytelling and influence. Communicate with impact. Fantastic, Miriam. You actually just mentioned the point here, communicate with impact, that it is here. I think it's quite relevant to dramatize your ideas, but we'll go through all these points now briefly. And anytime you have a reaction, you have a question, feel free to write it in the comments. I really enjoy reading them. Right. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Yes. Have you tried to remember about a situation in which you were arguing with somebody and just trying to convince them that you're right, you're right? Remember, at that point, you were more important. You made yourself more important than the other person, right? And going back to the first principles, the previous, make sure that the other person is important. So avoid an argument. Find a way. Remember about putting yourself into the other people's shoes, right? Think about why this person might be saying that. And remember, of course, we're not saying that you should never argue. I'm not saying that. But if you want to win people to your way of thinking, if you want to convince them, the best thing is do not argue with them. Okay. Next point, show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say you are wrong. Really, if you think about it, there are no people who are wrong and right, because everybody does things because of out of their beliefs, right? They believe something, so they think that they're right at that point. Okay. So again, if you're saying that you're wrong, then immediately you put yourself into a confrontation. And will you ever agree with the person who is confronting you? Will you ever start thinking the same way? Probably not, because you're confronting the person, you're arguing. So your point of view is different. So if you want to win people to your way of thinking, do not say that you are wrong, and show respect for their opinion. Show respect, say that I understand why you might be saying this way, why you're saying that. I understand where you're coming from. Show that you respect their opinion. Avoid arguing about politics, religion, and football, and you will be pretty. Yes. So generally, these three things, these three topics, bring a lot of argument. But it's important to respect the other person's opinion. They have the right to have their opinion. Fantastic. Next point: if you're wrong, admit it quickly and empathically. Yes, this is really important, especially in work. We all make mistakes. That's fine. It's the nature of human being. The only place when we don't make mistakes, the only real time when we don't make mistakes, when we do something, the same thing again, and again. So we don't develop, we don't grow. But whenever we try something new, whenever we step out of our comfort zone, we will definitely make mistakes, and it's fine. And it's okay to be wrong, right? Sometimes you will find that you're wrong about something. And if you want people to not just like you, but win to your way of thinking, then you need to admit that you were wrong. You need to go to those people and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And explain why you were wrong, and explain what how you can change, or what you can improve and change this point. Okay, great. Next point is begin in a friendly way. So whenever you start any conversation, be friendly. Whatever happens, be friendly. Listen to another person and what they're saying, and be friendly. Okay, so I think there isn't much to talk about here. It's pretty clear. Fantastic. Just checking your comments. Nothing so far. Nothing new. So whenever you have a comment, feel free to write it. And for those who just joined, we're talking about the book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Great. So the next point, get the other person to say yes, yes, immediately. So think about the way of how you can get people say yes within the first few minutes of the conversation. Because very likely, if you said yes to something, whatever it is, twice, then the third time, if it's their, for example, your proposal, then they will say yes again. If the people keep saying no, they're more likely to say no again. So try to get them say yes as quickly as possible. Next, Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. Again, we like to talk more than to listen. So the more the other person talks, the more important they feel, and the quicker or the more they will realize that you are there, you're interested in them, and they are important to you. So let them talk, let them express their opinions, let them share their ideas. Next one, let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. Tricky, right? So I think on this point, you might want to go and read the book in more detail, but generally, we can do that by asking questions, by letting the people talk, and by relating our idea to what they say, right? It's a very good strategy, and you might want to practice that. Okay, fantastic. The next point is try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Again, we go back to the first point, put yourself into the other person's shoes. If you look at the problem, or if you look at something you want to talk about from the other person's perspective, then they're more likely to, because then you will be using the same terms and they're more likely to come to your way of thinking. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. Again, remember about do not criticize. If the person wants to do something, whatever it is, even if you think that it's not a great idea, for example, a person wants to go somewhere or try something, and for example, go to a certain restaurant, and you know that that's not the best restaurant. Let them do that. Let them go there because it's their idea and it's their desire to do that and to go there. Great. So let them be sympathetic and understand what they want. Great. Next one, appeal to the nobler motives, right? Everybody has different motives, something that is on the surface and something that is deeper, something that we don't know. But if you think about what noble motive this person has, then, and if you appeal to that, then it will be much easier to get people think the way you think. Dramatize your ideas. Rafa will talk about being double-faced. We'll talk about that. Dramatize your ideas. That's a good way. Also, add a little bit of action, add a little bit of drama. I read a point, I can't remember, but there was a story of a salesperson who was saying that by providing discount to the owner of a shop, he was saying that by providing constant discounts, he throws money away. And then he threw a bunch of coins on the floor, and this sound of coins just showed the owner that that he was wasting money. So it was like a bit dramatic, right? All those, imagine the coins thrown on the floor, but it made the effect. So add a bit of drama in your next business meeting. Think about how you can add a bit of drama. And the last point, throw down a challenge. We all like challenges. We all like competitions. So these are really important. Great. So this is the third part. If you have any comments here, feel free to write. And we'll be moving to the fourth part shortly. I'm just gonna read Rafa's comments. In some points, I think it needs to be double-faced and that show our real personality to fulfill them. Look, if we go back to the what I said previously, right? Become genuinely interested in other people and do it sincerely, then you don't need to be double-faced because you're genuinely interested, because you really sincere, because you want people, you want to understand, you putting yourself into other people's shoes and you understand, you really understand their point of view, right? You're not pretending, I think. And this is the key to whatever is written. I think that's what the whatever is written in the book. If you pretend to like people, if you pretend that you're interested, then it's not going to work. You really have to make yourself be interested in people and in their interest. You really need to think about their point of view and their perspective. Great. Last but not least, the last part is about being a leader and how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. For all leaders and management and future leaders, these points are really important. Praise and honest appreciation. Again, if you see the word honesty comes here, you need to be honest. You need to appreciate people. You need to value what they do. And praise. There is never, well, maybe that sometimes, but if it's genuine praise, then there is never too much genuine praise. Okay. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly without saying, "Oh, you did a bad job," right? Do it indirectly. Don't point as like it's your fault, right? It can be discussed how this was a mistake and how this can be addressed in a different way. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. Look, again, this all comes to putting yourself into the other person's shoes, being on the same level and understanding each other and being interested, because we all make mistakes. And then if you say that, look, I've made these mistakes in the past, I understand how you feel, I understand what's happening with you, right? I understand why you might be making this mistake. Okay. And here it really helps this connection for a leader with an employee, for example, right? Or a manager with a member of a team. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Again, so you can say, do this by Monday, or you can say, do you think you will be able to complete this task by Monday? And then work from there. You see, there is two different things. Do this, or do you think you'll be able to complete that? Let other person save face. That's really important. Whenever we do something wrong, whenever we make mistake, public embarrassment is never good. It makes us feel bad about ourselves, right? And you know that employees don't quit jobs, they quit managers. Probably heard about that before. And here, I'm sure that if this helped, then it is possible that your employee will leave if they lost face in a certain situation. And it is your job to make sure that the other person saves face. Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Whatever, yes, Reem, save face is really, really important point. And a good leader will always make sure that the employee will save face in any situation. whether it's in front of the other employees or in front of customers. Right. Praise the slightest improvement. Praise every improvement. Have you ever met an employee or somebody who's just constantly doing something wrong, 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 wrong? Again, another situation I read about, and the story in relation with this book is a manager had an employee who would always make mistakes. And then the moment she switched the attention to things that the person started doing, was doing right, and just focus on doing that right daily and praising every single step of improvement and praising, not criticizing for making mistakes, but praising for what they did. Little by little, the employee changed their behavior and they did more and more things correctly, because we like praise more than criticism, right? Going back to the first point, don't criticize. Praise is good. Yes, yes. Yes, exactly. People will like you, even if you think it's there can be enemies, they will respect you. Fantastic. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. That's the phrase. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to, right? There is a reputation. It's important, goes together with saving face. And let the employees, let people in your company, in your team, uh, have this reputation and live up to this reputation, right? If you tell somebody, wow, you're fantastic at this, they will want to live up to this reputation, right? They want to keep hearing from you that you're fantastic at doing something. And that's what is really important. Great. Use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct. We all make mistakes. That's fine. We already talked about criticizing. But as a leader, you also have to help people know how to correct this thing. And as you talk about this correction, make it seem as easy as possible. Because if it's something too complicated, the employee is not very likely, or the team member is not very likely to correct that, because it might seem too difficult for them. However, if you make it seem easy, they will likely to change it. And also sometimes certain things take time to correct and improve. And don't try to fix everything in one go. The last point here is make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggested. So again, influencing them and encouraging them to do what you suggested, and ask them, try to make them feel excited about that. That is all for the summary. Any comments so far? Any comments about the book? Please tell me which principles you already apply in your life and which principles you just learned. Would be great to know. Just a few final comments. I'll go through back to the first part and see if you have any questions, any comments. And while you type in your comments, I'll just remind you that this was a summary of the book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And now we have these live sessions with Wall Street English for you every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So save the date and save the time. And what if you want to come and join Wall Street English, you're welcome to do that. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask them. And I'd like to just point out the fact that our centers are open again, but during the quarantine period, we worked online. So now you can continue or start your studies both online and in center. And we're now happy to give you full flexibility. You can choose whether you want to study online or you want to study in our centers, or maybe you want a bit of both. So we're really, really looking after you and trying our best to give you the most flexibility. For more information, you can you can contact us. You can contact us and just write your names in the comments. So one tip from Dia, never eat alone. Excellent tip. Fantastic. So this was me, Irina Cordel, the service manager of Wall Street English Tunisia, and we talked about How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Lots and lots of great advice. You can rewatch this session again and come to Wall Street English, study online in center, or a bit of both. Great, guys. Thank you for being with me today. And any questions, any comments, just write them under this video. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.